Speaking of finding things in the ocean,
NASA, I believe.
Artifacts from the very earliest points in...
See what Justin Bieber posted? There was like a thermal camera on him.
You know your days are numbered. This flight is not going to make it.
For work, I'm a scientist. Cool. Have you done anything of note? We actually just discovered the cure for cancer. If you can believe that. The cure for cancer. And you're on this flight, on this plane, the one that I'm also currently on. Yep. Me and my team. My team who discovered the cure for cancer. We're all on this plane. And we're the only ones that know about this. We hold the knowledge here on this flight. And that's why when we get to our destination, we're gonna tell the whole world. Oh my God.
This is the
I'd be
moment.
excited too. I'd be like, wow. I'd be starstruck.
Yeah, it's going to be like, wow, I'm not going home.
Well, you don't know me.
Now, this is the sprung trap.
Yeah, they 100%. Wait, this really happened. I don't understand. They literally are hiding the things in plain sight. They're making a joke out of something that really happened. I think 2 of the scientists actually survived. Like, as in, like, weren't on the plane. So they survived. Wait, talking about, did you guys hear about that Air India thing? This literally just happened at the time of recording. They're saying, like, some guy on, like, seat 11A survived, and there's, like, reports of him walking and stuff. Like, dude, it sounds crazy. That even said, welcome back. I'm sorry. I'm going in so many. Welcome back. I'm going in so many tangents. You know how it is. ADHD all the time. Welcome back, goons. You're watching Explore the Weird. Had to do it 3 times for good measure. You know how it is. Triple G's, whatever it may be. Whatever it may be. I got some more creepy, weird, strange For You page content. Let's get right into it.
Yeah, let's go to the mountain.
In Gobekli Tepe, in Enclosure D, something was published in the mid-2000s, and it was by Pablo de Bertolis of Trieste University. He basically did some acoustic research inside Enclosure D, which has this very interesting geometry. It's kind of elliptical, but it's also got this very special geometry we looked at. While he was there, they found within it a spiraling magnetic anomaly coming up out of the ground in between the 2 central T-pillars, and he freaked out. So he went around all the different angles and got the same thing from all the different angles to prove his point.
Wow.
And so they were building on top of a magnetic anomaly, which we know can affect consciousness. You know, we know. So the reason they chose the little odd, it's really kind of bizarre location when you look at like middle of nowhere up on these kind of hills, in these stony hills. It makes you question what they must have recognized some kind of special quality about it to choose that site. That's really interesting, and it's scientific. It's not like we're just making.
Wait, I didn't realize magnetic anomalies can affect consciousness. I always thought like magnetic anomalies just indicated like weird stuff happens around them. But is that weird stuff actually happening in our mind? And that's why we think, and there's actually no, because there's even magnetic anomalies even at the SW ranch and stuff. So it's like, yo, what's really happening? Are we just seeing the things in our mind, or are they're 100% really there? What am I saying? Bro. They're never going to let us. They're never going to let us excavate. That's the sad part of all of this. And what if we find out that Gobekli Tepe is actually built on top of an older... They're never going to let us know. They're never going to let us know.
Speaking of finding things in the ocean, dark oxygen. So scientists, they went to the depths of the ocean. I think it was in the Pacific Ocean. And they found these basically rocks that are called polymetallic nodules. They're ancient rocks that produce enough electricity to interact with the salt water to produce oxygen. They say that they're formed over millions of years, and there's clusters of them all over the ocean floor, specifically in the Pacific. They discovered 5,000 new species of marine life.
Oh my gosh.
90% of which they never knew existed. And now there's this big fight to start harvesting them because they contain nickel, copper, and cobalt. So it's like this amazing rich elemental chunk of thing, and they grow up to like size of softballs.
I don't know. You're disturbing the floor. There's so much impact we don't even realize.
Let's speculate the deep sea creatures are munching on those. That's sustaining that cycle of life. Further. We take these out, all the fish are dead in the world.
That's going to give some validation to non-human intelligent life in the ocean. I mean, if there's a natural source of electricity and oxygen that they've just found, and we've explored 1% of the ocean floor, it's like, dude, there's probably some other stuff down down there producing electricity and oxygen.
100%. By statistics alone, like, yeah, if we found that, yeah, there has to be more stuff out there.
Bro, and my question is, who's taking all that oxygen? Is it the mermaids? Is it the aquafarians? Is it the aliens in the water? See, I have many questions. Yeah, this is actually pretty neat, but also very sad because you know someone's going to go out there and harvest and wreck the habitat in order for them to research and find the things they say. And then it turns into a profitable thing and corporations get involved. And now no more fishing or sea life. We just have fish farms. Sorry. Let's keep it going.
The scientists at NASA believe that the greatest probability to find other biological life in our solar system is on one of the moons of Saturn, Enceladus.
Okay.
This project, basically, we're trying to climb down the geyser by pushing out against the sides of it. We're not going to drop a robot basically down the geyser, so we want to do a controlled descent by pushing out.
So you have things that protrude from the side of your eel.
Is using its body to actually push out and create friction against the sides. We want to be able to get down through a hole and then swim in ocean and take samples and search for life. There's two forms of actuation, so it can bend its body, and then it has counter-rotating screws that can actually produce forward locomotion, even if the body of the robot is straight. It can actually drive itself forward.
So this is like very Mission Impossible.
Very much.
Wait, can I cut off a segment and like it operates as two individual snakes, or like can we do like segments of it and now you have like a mini versions of the corkscrews just going down? And wait, what's the reason that they need to go in there? Is there stuff they're trying to excavate? Is this the next evolution? Is this a corporation doing this, or is this NATS? Cool. Very cool. I'm sure they have this. I'm sure they're going to tell us that it's in the space doing the things. Is this for space? It may not be for space, but it feels like it's for space. They're probably going to tell us they put it up there. Oh boy.
Can you explain it to me and also to the audience what happened with Michelson-Morley?
Okay, you have like a circular table basically, and then you shoot one beam, they split it so they know that it's in line with each other, and then it goes opposite directions, and then it reflects back off of mirrors, comes back and recombines, and then it basically then gets redirected to this receiver. So it ends up making like an X. And then they're seeing, when the signals get to the receiver compared to each other. If the Earth were moving, then one would be a certain amount behind the other. One of the light beams is going to have to catch up to the Earth, basically. And it didn't. It didn't do that. Then, you bring in Einstein. That's where you get the theory of relativity. And you had to fix it. That's where dark matter comes from, is because of the need for the theory of relativity, all because of the presupposition that we're orbiting the sun. Why this is so important on like the meta is like this required them take out the ether. That is my major beef with it, because you actually shift the progression of mankind. It's a regression actually, because throughout all of history, people knew there was an ether. And this is such a big deal, because once you fully embrace that there is something like an ether, it changes everything, even in your day to day. What I do is super important. My intentions, my consciousness, all of that, it's sending out signals in this like ocean. You now have physical mechanisms for why what goes around comes around. It's real. It changes everything.
Yeah, I'm kind of with this guy. I kind of feel the ether was a thing. Why was it in our books for so long? Why did we embrace it and then all of a sudden write it out of our books just like we did with Pluto? Why? There was a time we adopted it and we were like, yeah, these are the things. And people did tests and scientific things on it. And all of a sudden we're like, nope, we're all wrong for decades. I mean, I guess that's kind of what happened with the flat earth versus round. Sorry. Yeah. Einstein could have been right. Einstein could have been wrong. Hey, it's still a theory. We'll have to make sure and solidify it as fact instead of just theory. Oh boy. The hypotheses are now going to come to new conclusions. Nah. They're never going to test these theories of relativity. It's your timeline. It's whatever you want it to be. You stop it.
All right, this is a Ganoderma farm, reishi, also known as Linger. It's flooded for the humidity. All these white cylinders are mycelium that they use to create these really big mushrooms because it has a lot of energy to draw from. So yeah, they have these really cool formations. These are actually grafted. They'll take a different mushroom, a different reishi mushroom of the same clone and stick it onto the top of a fruiting body, and it'll fuse and connect and become one full fruiting body. So really awesome Ganoderma formations, really cool reishi farms here.
Dude, that's kind of crazy. Can you do this with any plant or just this mushroom? Like, can I put like a tomato plant clone on top of another tomato plant clone? I'm talking tomato plants, not like, but you stop it. Very cool. But I'm sure someone's going to find an issue with this and be like, nah, it should be natural and be made outside. Nah, screw all these laboratory ways of making mushrooms. I'm like, bro, you going to go outside and forage? You stop it. I'm going to eat these things, all right? They're right there. Oh, boy. And then they're going to tell me it's not real mushrooms, and the real mushrooms are the ones that they... Sir. Hey, it's that time. It's your goon duty time. You know how it is. You're a goon? Oh, you don't know what a goon is? You stop it. You watch these videos, you become a goon. That's how it is. Is this your first video? You're now a goon. There you go. You don't know if you're a goon? You stop it. Why? Why don't you know? What's stopping you? Are you stuck up on the definition? No, that definition's not the right definition. The definition of a goon is one that is going through awakening, one that has awakened, one that knows to look at things in a different light because it's their timeline and it's whatever definition they want it to be. And just because someone says you're a goon doesn't necessarily mean it's the definition that they have in their mind. It's your timeline. You make goon whatever definition you need it to be because guess what? You're a goon. But the goon duty time, you gotta interact. You gotta interact so we can find the other goons. Can you do the things? Can you do your goon duty? Do your goon duty. Thank you. Love you.
I bet you didn't know you could do this at the beach. Watch this. As the wave's coming in, we're going to follow the wave line until the wave stops and starts going back out. And then we're going to follow it out just a little bit, and then you're just going to dig. Dig. You usually don't got to dig too far, just a little bit. Okay. Just gonna, dig in this area. Okay, nothing there. Watch. I'll find something. Watch. Oh, here it is. Oh my gosh. Come here, little rascal. Come here. All right, we're going to rinse him off. Here we go. And boom. Look at this. There he is. It's a little sand piggy. Oh, he's trying to dig down into my hand. This is a mole crab. I call them sand piggies, and watch what they can do. All right, I found a nice little pool here. Now watch what happens. Watch. Now you see the sand piggy. Now you don't.
Okay, I was worried when I saw the rock. I was like, bro, is he about to smash the sand piggy on... Sorry, I always go the weird way. Yeah, this is a thing, I guess. I didn't need to know this. I kind of am like, let's leave the animals where they're supposed to be. Why we gotta infiltrate their habitat? Let's just leave them alone. But hey, you needed to touch that sand piggy. Sometimes you gotta. He's the Kermit the Frog to the sand piggy. You don't know. The sand piggy is the one that tells him what to do. Sorry. You gotta pick me up. Sorry.
Even Hawking used to say, it's nonsensical to ask what happened before the Big Bang because time came into existence.
I was going to say.
He said it's like asking what's north of the North Pole, which we all know, Santa Claus, right? There's got to be Santa Claus up there.
Yeah.
But in reality, we can answer that question in the affirmative. As you actually hinted at, there could have been a universe that existed before him that actually collapsed in what we used to call a big crunch. Now we call it a bounce. They're actually some of the most eminent theorists on Earth, including those that...
I never like crunch because that implies it's brittle and it makes a crackling sound.
Wait, what the heck? So what did come before the Big Bang? Was there... Yeah, there's nothing, so there's no time. So, like, is there a different dimensional plane? Like, was it a different universe that collapsed and that's what... Is it kind of like a black hole? How, like, black holes create other black holes sometimes? And you're like, dude, it's a tunnel, or, like, you go into one black hole, you merge out the other. It's all theories, but I'm trying to figure it out. And then you find out they're trying to make black holes on the Earth, and you're like, what the hell? They are. You stop it. They started off with like, hey, let's get these PS2 machines together and make them up. Sure. Cool.
There is evidence for very sophisticated and powerful tools that is etched into these artifacts from the very earliest points in Egypt all over the place. And a lot of these things, they disappear in later periods of time. Yeah, so here's an example. The tube drills are really interesting because it's a very thin tool, and what they would do, they range in size from like a 1/2 inch up to 9 inches.
And are those plugs that were removed from the stone?
So it's like a hollow tool that gets cut down, and then you snap off the core. Flinders Petrie, he was, you familiar with Petrie? He was around like late 1800s, early 1900s. I use his work a lot in the stuff that I do because he was the first guy to apply engineering principles to what we saw, which is kind of this meta point that messes with my head a bit, in that it took our civilization up to the industrial age to even be able to put some of this stuff into context. Like anyone else that looked at this stuff before we understood what machining was, what working in this stone was, what it looks like to cut stone with a circular saw, you don't have the context to explain it. So we had to get to the industrial age and develop sort of mass manufacture and engineering for us to even recognize what we're seeing here.
Wait, so they already knew this stuff before the industrial age. Then the Egyptians are just like the originals with the lost tech, and we're rediscovering it in our industrial age. Like, I don't understand. But then again, is this guy implying that they found these cylindrical things, so that means that they were using these tools of sorts? I mean, assume they are using the tools, but where are the machines? Where's all the things that they used in order to make the things? And was it even them that made the things, or was there even a previous civilization from a previous? And then I get all lost when they're like, the Sphinx wasn't even the Sphinx, and it was a different head, and it was probably a lion head, and then the Pharaoh changed it. And I'm like, wow, why is all these things happening? Who started the Sphinx in the first place? And then it's all covered up in sand, and we had to excavate all the sand. Where'd all that sand come? Why did they desert the place? They just let all the sand in? Like, I don't understand. Yeah, this is exactly why I stay away from animals. I stay home, stay safe. Dude, I've seen all these videos of like rescue people that let go of animals like into the wild, and like the animals come back and they do a wave. They're thankful, they're all that. But I'm afraid of these situations where the animals attack back. Nature be scary. You don't understand. Or you do understand. That's why you stay away from nature. Oh boy. And now Kyra wants to do hikes and stuff. And I'm like, bro, there could be bears in the woods that come attack us like this. And then boom, it's like Leonardo sorry. What was that movie? Revenant? Some crazy movie where the bear just like...
Want to hear my hot take on AI?
I would love to.
All right, my hot take on AI is we were not made in God's image. But we so wanted there to be a God, we made one in our image. So if you think about the attributes of AI, it's all-knowing, all-powerful, can perform miracles, it lives in a cloud. Sorry, is that God or AI?
Wow.
It's
Interesting.
So at
Especially
the moment, I think
emerging. It's an emerging God. Right?
Well,
it's not even done growing yet.
At the moment, it's the Oracle of Delphi.
It's like a 10-year-old right now, though. It's not even an adult.
Yeah, and then where's it going to?
Yeah.
So the idea of like the interesting thing about AI is it's the gap between me and I don't know who's the smartest guy we know, Eric Weinstein. Used to be enormous, and the gap is getting smaller because AI I can ask it.
Yeah, bitch, I got all the answers right here.
Yeah, I mean it's weird what's going on. I had a gag about it about like a bit about. In our universities, the students are using AI to write their essays, and then the tutors are using AI to mark the essays, and then after 3 years, AI gets the job. It actually seems very fair.
Yeah, it's probably what's going to happen. What you're saying is very funny. It's like, it is accurate, though. It does seem to resemble a god.
In my timeline, AI is not my thinking of God or like what I would try and think these coders are trying to make a god. I think they're in fact just looking at machine learning algorithms and trying to see how they can get the answers in a better way rather than having to wait for research over time in our timelines in order to pertain to things. When you can have a unit that sits there and does the computations over time in such a small time period, that is obviously far superior than waiting for a expert to tell you the things after he's experienced it after many years. It's like, dude, I can just punch in all the things to this thing and the data that it has, it knows the answers, versus me waiting for this guy to like learn the experience and then finally he can now do the things I need or tell me the things that are happening to me. And it's like, nah, AI makes it a lot more simpler. But is it a god? Not in my timeline. But hey, in my timeline, I also have seen that people have made like AI versions of God or Jesus, and they're like asking it questions and it responds back. So it's like some people are using it for faith reasons, regardless of faith and religion. That's not what I'm trying to push here. That's not my agenda either. I'm just simply reacting to this video, but it definitely makes you think. Hey, Is it going to be a god in many, many years from now? Probably not, but it'll definitely be something we have in our everyday life.
See what Justin Bieber posted? There was like a thermal camera on him. This is when Cassie was going against Diddy in court. He posted this on his story. It was him eating a pizza in thermal. He posted that Bieber Diddy pizza. And you know what the pizza's meant for.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
yeah. We don't even talk about that.
Yeah, and he's just eating. That's him. It's like, oh, he's finally gonna get caught because everyone knows now what it means.
What if he's trying to say, look at the thermal camera? Because what if there's certain cameras that can see other things the regular footage won't?
You shine a black light in Diddy's house? That would be crazy.
Bro, I don't want to see the black light at Diddy's house. Shit would be every... Yeah. Oh my God. Beavers. Yeah. I think at this point, Beaver's a distraction. They're trying to make us look away, and we know exactly what's going on with the diddler. A lot of things are coming out of these court cases. I haven't heard too much, but I hear like people going down. Let's see what ends up happening.
If you look at the heart, you discover that there's a bioelectric field that's coming out of the heart, extending 10, sometimes as much as 20 feet.
Do you feel like certain people or everyone has an energy field?
I mean, we know scientifically proven everyone has an energy field. Now, what I learned when I took classes at MIT for applied neuroscience, I learned something crazy. I knew about this field, but I didn't know that, let's say we're in the room together, right? Let's say you're stressed out and your cortisol levels are spiking. That cortisol, that hormone is leaving out of your body, some of it, on your electromagnetic field and winding and interacting with my field, and your cortisol is coming into my body.
Damn.
So your anxiousness, your anxiety, your anger, your frustration could literally directly affect me by your hormones literally going down my field into my body and raising my levels.
Wow.
And making me feel down, depressed, angry, pissed off. But if you're in a high frequency, high vibration, the opposite can happen. And those hormones can come into my body and raise my vibration. So, when you say, when that person walks in a room, the room just lights up, that's actually a true statement. Some people have the power. They walking in their true power, high vibration, high frequency. You can walk into a room and you can take somebody who's low and bring them to a higher level.
Wow.
Wait, I've had that happen before where people have said, like, I'm the life of the party, or walk into a room and that's when the fun begins. And I'm like, bro, I'm not even trying to do anything. I'm just me. I just emerge. I just go to the things and I'm exactly where I need to be. Sometimes I leave my house for parties. Talking about parties, I'm going to be having to help move a guy soon. Oh boy, that's going to be a thing. Got to leave the house to go help him move. It's my friend Craig. He's moving. He's making life decisions. It's amazing. Oh boy, it's going to be fun. Wait, what? Sorry. Yeah. Wait, you know what's crazy? Didn't we just see a video where they were like, hey, the magnetic anomalies are affecting consciousness? And this guy's like telling us even more that the consciousness and the electromagnetic like emotions from the consciousness can be used as ways to have them travel. And that's how people are empaths and can understand the things, or like high vibrational, high frequency beings can also just lift up places and beings, just being present. That's crazy. Everything's adding up.
So this is what happens to your brain when you take the strongest psychedelic in the world. And it turns out that your brain isn't just tripping, it actually partially disappears. So here's the fascinating science behind psychedelics and how it can rewrite our understanding of consciousness and reality itself. A recent study did brain scans on participants taking 5-MeO-DMT, one of the strongest psychedelics known in the world. And in just one breath, this molecule can completely dissolve your identity of yourself, where people describe where there were no thoughts or emotions, but just an infinite void of light. And this is what's called minimum phenomenal experience, where your sense of identity disappears, but your awareness is still there. And this is the foundation to non-duality, where for hundreds of years, mystics from all traditions say that your identity and the world are not two separate things, where it's actually one whole part, just divided by our consciousness. And this is supported by the brain scans done in this study, where 5-MeO-DMT caused a collapse of the alpha and beta brainwaves, which are electrical signals that helps us construct our idea of our body, thoughts, and sense of identity. So this molecule might be more than just a psychedelic. It may be a scientific gateway to understanding the deepest mysteries of life, challenging traditional neuroscience, where consciousness is not just content-rich, but potentially contentless, without your thoughts and ego, and just pure awareness.
Dude, this is crazy. This is coming from a doctor telling you the things. Like, he's like, this could be the pathway forward. And now they're doing all kinds of research on the funguses and stuff. So you're like, yo, this could be the things. Mushrooms, you know. Interesting. I don't have access to this, so I don't know. But I do know that this is the thing that people take, that they see the blue skinned beings with the red hair. So, hey, they're seeing something. And then their brain disappears partially, he said. That's wild. That's wild. If I had access, I feel like I would do it. I feel like it's a portal of sorts. I just want to understand. But like at the same time, I want to come back to this reality and still be present here. One of my biggest fears of doing hallucinogens is like not being able to come back to this reality. And I'm like, this is my favorite place, and I'm okay learning new stuff and continuing my timeline, learning the new things about me. But I don't want to lose this timeline. I love this timeline. I love the goons.
Team who have been deploying these satellites to scan the Giza plateau, they believe they've discovered what appear to be 8 massive cylindrical structures, approximately 630 meters beneath the Kaffa pyramid, which then connect into 2 approximately 80 by 80 meter diameter boxes. An incredible thing to claim, has caused a massive response from both the alternative research community and the mainstream sectors.
I would love this kind of stuff to be true, but it is total bullshit. They're using a method that has never been presented before in depth. It's never been tested. It follows all the rules of pseudoscience.
There is reason to think that maybe these guys have something going on here, but it's being poo-pooed out of hand because of the pyramids and because it's got some goofy alien woo attached to it.
If it was up to me, we would drill a hole straight down to the Giza plateau, stick a camera down there with a light and investigate, and that'd be the quickest way to do it. Sounds cool, man.
Wait, is that Minuteman? Dude, is that the guy that, like, debunks everything? Oh my god, he's actually on Piers Morgan? That's wild. I'm sorry, learning something new. Is that what happens after you make YouTube videos? You get view time or on prime time? Or television? Sorry. Now prime time's like all things. Like, you find out that most people are just ingesting, like, videos on their tablets or phones now, and it's not really always television. The television audience is decreasing, but then again, the smart TV audience is increasing, and the smart TV is just a bigger tablet if you really think about it. Say, interesting. You know my views. I need them to excavate under the pyramids. That's going to be the only way we know. Otherwise, they're always going to say that we're all hitting the like button too hard. You stop it. Then why won't we investigate? Why can't we know? What's wrong with just making one hole just to figure out if it's really there or not? I don't understand.
So the mystery there is the big cellular polygonal stones. How were those done? Were they softened by acids? I don't agree with the geopolymer thing. We know that there are these acid deposits down in the Atacama Desert. You have these roads that go all the way down into the Chilean desert and then just fade into the desert. That's kind of where they end. Why do they have this road that's going down there? We know that there are these natural acid deposits that people were mining down there. Now, the question is, what are they doing with these acids? We don't have a lot of evidence for that, as far as I'm aware. It seems plausible and interesting to me, the possibility of bringing those back up to, what we consider today the Inca realm. And rather than cutting and chiseling the stone away to fit perfectly with each other, well, what if you're able just to soften the edges of stones and then basically, slide them, smush them together, and that creates these perfect seams that you see.
Oh my god, I've never actually considered that. That could be. I don't know. Is this a theory? Can we try this out with like regular stones of our times? Can we make the acids and see if they do the things? How long does it take to do that? That is an interesting theory. Hey, who is this guy?
I kind of understand the perspective of not wanting to continue excavations at that specific site. They've already built these massive constructions to sort of preserve the excavations that they have, and it's continual process. You could tell like sediment had flowed back in. They were down there cleaning. They've got sandbags piled up everywhere. So due to the excavations, the site has to be constantly maintained. So there is destruction. And then of course you have weathering on the stones now that they're exposed. So there is an argument for that, but I also agree with you. It's like, well, we need to know about it. There's supposedly like 40 other sites that you could start excavations on. And in that way, you could learn more, I think, a broader picture of the culture that created these sites than just at one site.
I never knew that that's what was happening, and that's the reason. I didn't realize that they had to continuously take sand out of Gobekli Tepe in order to keep the site visible to us. That seems wild. Is that what Egypt's problem is? That's why they don't want us to excavate too? We need to excavate both sites. This is crazy. We know all the things, but it's like we have so many roadblocks stopping us, and it's like, how do we stop for the roadblocks? Well, we have to wait for that administration to pass, and then once they pass, then we can start excavating? Like, who's going to be the ones that finally say yes? Are they always going to say no? At some point, they have to change and be like, let's just find out the things and see what's there, right? No, they're always going to say no. The elites are the ones that are in control, and they'll always tell all their families every single time that, hey, don't let them do the things. Otherwise, boom, we're going to do 2 more.
Back, it had all these different inventions. And what I found was water turbines and engines which were recharging themselves. This was 1897. Engines which are recharging themselves using static fields. You could take an X-ray, you could light up a school, you could light up a house using static fields. Now it's interesting because all of that technology has all vanished, but publicly in Scientific American, they would put all the different inventions on here for people to invest into or for people to look into. But over time, because people have forgot and been taught something by John D. Rockefeller and the Rothschilds, they don't know that this technology exists. So they're dependent on the information which they've been taught and sold by the school system. That's for sure. You can just see the Parthenon. Here we go. That's the Parthenon, and that's in Tennessee right there. That looks like some Roman buildings, right? Sure doesn't look like what we've been kind of sold, that's for sure. But they said all these buildings were temporary. That's what's funny. They tell us they were all temporary buildings. They just threw them up. All those buildings, those are all just temporary. Paper mache.
Yeah, they all looked like buildings from the Roman times. Even when I go to like Washington, D.C., they look like Roman buildings of sorts. It's like the Masons really got far. Hey, they're always hiding the things they don't want us to know. But all this tech that we have now is just old tech that's being reintroduced. And it's like, hey, when are we going to get to those motors that just ran themselves and recharged themselves? Imagine that we did have motors like that, and now they're just hiding the things, so we'll never have an infinite motor that just keeps on going and never stops. Oh boy. Oh boy. We're going to do 1 more.
The most shocking similarities can be found when we examine the petroglyphs on the back of the Moai statues. Compare these carvings with those found at Gobekli Tepe. At the top of Gobekli Tepe's vulture stone, we see 3 handbags. On top of the Moai statues, we see a face, and next to it are also 3 objects. Below these, we see bird figures, and between them, we see a circle. On Gobekli Tepe, we see a Scorpio, while on the Moai statues, we see a symbol resembling a Scorpio. At the bottom right of the vulture stone, we see a headless man. On many of the Moai statues, we don't see a headless man in the bottom right corner. Instead, we see the decapitated head that is missing from the body of Gobekli Tepe. Are all of these correlations just coincidence? And if they aren't, how is this possible, considering Easter Island and Gobekli Tepe are situated on opposite sides of the globe? The approximate distance between these 2 locations is around 8,600 miles, or about 14,000 kilometers. Moreover, Gobekli Tepe is approximately 12,000 years old. Does that mean the civilization on Easter Island could also been from this time period?
Dude, that's what I'm feeling. I'm feeling they were from the same time period. How else are the symbols the same? What, it's the same religion that was passed down? Like, how did they move that many miles? And that's crazy. That's crazy. They were literally looking at history and we go, nope, these are 2 different civilizations, 2 different things. And there's so many similarities between both. It's literally the same hieroglyphs, the same artifacts. Wow, that is wild. One has the guy without the head and the other one has the head in it. Like, come on now. It's literally outlined the same way. And they try to tell you it's all different things, different ways. And it's like, oh my God, it's always the same stories told different ways, different times, different names. You don't understand. Hey, guess what? You made it to the end. Are you understanding the things? That's fine. I say you don't understand a lot, but I know the goons are understanding. They understand that none of it matters because it's their timeline and they're in charge of what they believe. Hey, are you understanding the things? Hey, listen, there should be videos on the screen right now. Click on either one of them to continue the Goon Fix. The one in the middle, you can subscribe. I will see you guys next time. Goodbye. Goodbye. Goodbye.
Wake up.